I made a video a while back all about how Thomas is indeed, first and foremost, a kid's show. Now I've been thinking a lot, especially about some of the controversies and maybe some of the complaints some people have had about Thomas's teaching capabilities as a kid's show. Today, I wanted to discover, is Thomas a bad show for kids? A lot of this thinking came from when I watched the Thomas Theorists retrospective on Chuggington. Go watch that if you haven't already, by the way, it's a good video. Anyway, especially when it came to the idea that Chuggington's creator really hated the Thomas franchise as a whole, and I was thinking, are his criticisms genuinely valid of it not being a worthwhile show for its target audience? One of the first points made was that Thomas and Friends is too mean. This I kind of do get where he's coming from. The characters inherently are all kind of jerks to each other, and inherently are all pretty rude, at least early on in the show's best years. But I don't really see that as a bad thing. As a show for young children, Thomas's main goal would be to introduce them to how the world works and things, and everybody is a complete saint in the world, so really, having all of its characters act generally rude isn't inherently too far off from that. Along with that, I feel like the engines become indirect role models for younger audiences who are trying to experience things, as Thomas' characters show them pretty much what not to do, as they, in general, act like hyperactive children who end up messing up all the time. I feel like it's a good thing, too, to have its characters act arrogant at times, because I feel like if the world was so pure, then there wouldn't be much for kids to think about or maybe reconsider with things that they do. I think having the show feel admittedly whimsy, but still having an admittedly grounded tone with how its characters act, generally has this good balance of where it feels like kids are still learning things, and it generally still feels like a happy place for them to be. Next up, Thomas's gender bias, which, okay, that one's got a lot of points to it. Female characters are not admittedly a big vocal point in the franchise's history, and hadn't really been until around its near end. But honestly, I don't really think it matters that much. Like, I'm not saying not to represent female characters. I want to make that perfectly clear. I'm just saying I don't think it really affects the series' quality one way or the other, and I could probably think of several other kid shows that have a strong male to female ratio. As a man, I don't really know if I could talk about this right, admittedly, so let's just move on. And the final point was made was that Thomas sticks too much to old-fashioned values, and I don't get this one, like, at all. Like, I think a lot of Thomas's morals and values are pretty timeless. Generally, I'd say a lot of the core morals you'd get from a usual Thomas episode would be like, don't be a jerk, being a pansy gets you nowhere, teamwork is generally important in certain situations, you learn from your failures more than your successes, and everybody is useful for something even if it's not initially what they thought. Honestly, I think all of those kind of values are pretty timeless and great things to teach kids. Still, from a moral standpoint, I think the whole franchise stays as relevant as ever in its golden years, honestly. So there's our Dick Rothkopf's ideals of Thomas and it not being a very good show for children. Admittedly, I disagreed with the majority of them, but I could see where a lot of it came from. Thomas is far from a perfect series. It's had its ups and downs and has ranged in quality. But in general, if you were to ask me, is Thomas a good show for kids? I would say yes. I think it teaches morals in a way only it can. It has a lot of good lessons to provide them, has values that'll be timeless pretty much forever, and it all does it in a unique way without trading any general entertainment value that I feel like shows in Thomas's caliber genuinely could. Tell me what you guys thought of this video, and be sure to tell me in the comments below if you think Thomas is genuinely a worthwhile kids show. Thank you for watching.